So yeah, my father, Samuel Lee Williams Sr. And before I get started, I just want to name my main inspirations, and all the names will be broken down as the story evolves. But first, I would have to just say God. You know what I'm saying? God for making all this possible. My father, my physical father, Samuel Lee Williams Sr. After that, DJ Slick Leo. After that would be Eloquence, Eldred Blossom, and after that would be Trent DeLong. My musical inspirations for everything that I do, everything that I've accomplished, what I look for in music comes from those folks. There have been a host of others, DJs known personally, admired, but just so far as for me and myself and my physical and spiritual well-being, those would be my main inspirations. So to kick it off, yes, I'm born in the early '70s. My dad was an avid music collector, record collector. Funny thing, a couple years ago, my mom tells me that it is because of her that my dad got into music. That my dad is from Birmingham, Alabama, country boy, big family, and according to my mom's, he wasn't really into music when they met. They met at Dillard University here in New Orleans. My mother is born and raised from in New Orleans, and according to her, he wasn't into music. She was, and he started getting into music because of her. And thus, here we are. I asked my dad about it about a month or two ago, and he was like, "Yeah, probably." So, I mean, there you go. But anyway, my dad just bought music, and the music that he bought was basically and primarily the '70s soul and R&B sound. That's what I was raised on. That's what I grew up on. Motown was all up in the house. You know, Isaac Hayes and Barry White and Gladys and Patty and Aretha. You know, all your main usual suspects when you think of '70s soul and R&B. And just so as far back as I can remember, my mom and dad would always have just these little gatherings, not big, huge parties, but these gatherings at the house with some very, very good family friends of ours, the Hamptons. The father was Leonce and the mother was Gwendolyn, and their two children, Craig and Jason, and my younger sister, Shannon. We're the kids. We're in the back and we're playing and we're playing in the back while the adults are up front. And, you know, of course, sometimes we would sneak up front and peek around the corner, and, you know, the music was playing and it was dark and they were drinking and they were laughing and just having a great time. And I always wanted to like recreate that experience from childhood. Music playing, party, feel good atmosphere, family, and the music. And my dad was pretty much in charge of the music. He had the big stereo console system. You could stack the records on the little pole there. He'd play the album, and then it would drop down. The next one would drop down, and he was pretty much in charge of that. You know, and those gatherings were primarily on the weekends, but even beyond that, you know, constantly, all the time, there was music played in our households. Now, I named just some of those names just to kind of give you an idea of where I come from and the sound and the style that I guess influenced me more. Like I said, it was mostly your '70s R&B and soul. Um, there was no James Brown in my father's collection. I remember one year, I think for his birthday, for Father's Day, I walked up buying him that Star Time or Star Power, or whatever it was, James Brown set, just because how could you not have any James Brown in your collection? But there was no James Brown. There was no Parliament or Funkadelic. There was no Sly Stone. There was a smattering of jazz, like a little Donald Byrd, a few pieces on Blue Note, like one a smattering of blues, maybe B.B. King, a Solomon Burke, but mostly melodic, groovy. Maybe some of the more well-known commercially viable artists of the time was kind of like what my dad was into. Big, big, big Luther Vandross fan, but wasn't deep down into, I guess, alternative or different sounds or styles. There was no Jimi Hendrix, no Miles or Coltrane. Now, of course, I got into all these things later on in life, but just to kind of give you a background, beautiful songs, strong vocalist Teddy Pendergrass. Oh my God. Especially with my moms and, I guess most black women or women of that time, Teddy Pendergrass. This was played a lot in our house, and this is what I was raised on. This is what I remember. That's my bedrock. That's my foundation. Getting to elementary school and early mid 70s, my parents saw the benefits of integration and sent me to a small private school in New Orleans East. And for the vast majority of my elementary education, I was the only black kid in the class, sometimes the whole school. I do remember two others who were there, but basically, primarily, a lot of times I was the only black kid in the class. And from there, at some point, I started getting into, I guess we're around this time. Let me see. If we're talking about elementary, let me see. Yeah, we might be talking about, yeah, we are talking about like Journey, Foreigner, Kim Carnes, Betty Davis Eyes. Just that whole sound. It was B97 was the station that I was primarily listening to. And I guess your top 40 hits of the of that time. That's what I started kind of getting into, kind of gravitating into. I can remember being at school one day and this little kid was like, "Hey man, his name was Keith. He said, "Hey man, what kind of music you listen to? What you're into, And I was naming her off those kind of names, Sticks, that kind of stuff, man. And this dude was like, "Nah, man, if you want to be cool, you gotta listen to Kiss." His older brother was like into Kiss, you know what I'm saying? You want to be cool, man, you gotta be listening to Kiss, Okay, all right. So, when I would go record shopping with my dad, he had me record shopping at an early age. Record Bar, Sound Warehouse, Smith's. I started buying Kiss records, and I was into Kiss up until the point when they took off their makeup. I think I remember the name of the album was Unmasked. So I'm just like a big heavy Kiss head, and whatever year that was, 70s or some point, so I'm doing that. I got my parents' background, my parents' music, that 70s soul, which I always loved. Did the little top 40 stuff. Started listening to Kiss. So you can see this magical musical brew that I'm already engaged in at an early age. And then I remember the day. I remember the day in 1979. I can't give you the exact date, but I remember the day. And it probably came on, it may have been WILD at the time. It may have been WAIL, Whale 105. It's the Cleo. May have been Whale 105, but I remember when I first heard Rapper's Delight.